All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another very exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my wonderful brothers, Chris and Juan. Guys, how are y'all doing after this All-Star break?
Doing fine. I
Bef-
miss Spurs.
yeah, same. I'm like revved
Yeah,
up, ready to go.
me too, man. Me too. I'm so excited to see Spurs basketball come back. It has been a very long time since we've seen actual NBA basketball, but we still have a good little bit to talk about. We still had two games this last week, and we have an All-Star game that we can talk about because we had an All-Star this year. Um, to get right into the recap of the games before the All-Star break, we played against the Chicago Bulls, losing to them 109 to 120, and then going to OKC and winning against the Thunder 114 to 106. Guys, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've talked about since we were able to talk about San Antonio Spurs basketball. But what can y'all remember? What can y'all get from the week beforehand?
I guess big picture, it's a little bit of the same, right? Win one, lose one, inconsistency. You see good things that you want and hope continue, and then it doesn't all the time. So, like from that point of view, it's kind of the same, but also still we're still fresh off the wounds of Derek White being gone and everything like that. So, I was happy. I know we all predicted that we were going to come in. We had a good 2-game win streak. Predicted we were going to come in with good energy and have a shot against Chicago. I guess at the end of the day, I'm okay with how that one turned up, but I am okay, or I'm glad that we were able to kind of smack up on OKC like we needed to. A good way to kind of send Dejounte off, into the break.
Yeah, no, Juan, what you got to add to that?
Yeah, the same way. It's kind of like not too surprised, with like Chris said, like inconsistencies, especially coming off the 2 games right before that, where we played pretty well, and then you kind of go into Chicago and you're like kind of struggling to get stops or do whatever. It's fun to see DeMar play and go off. We've seen it for a handful of years, and it's amazing. But man, watching it against us was just like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, where did this come from? A little bit of those shots looked a little too easy, and it's like, what is like, where was this? Where was this? But it's all fun. I'm glad Demar's having a great season, and then yeah, taking care of OKC like you needed to do. Also, just a little touch on, I was a big Derek fan, still am, and I love Devin, but like Devin can't have games like that against Chicago when you lose and you feel like you need defense, you need somebody to put on DeMar. Well, you lost Derek, and then you need some buckets, and you look at his scoring output. He takes Derek's starting spot, and so it's like he should have been the perfect guy to just kind of fit that role, and that we just need him to be going forward. And it doesn't have to be this year, but it's like those are those moments where it'd be nice to see him flash and show something, like especially against an all-star like DeMar.
Yeah, I mean, and in a game where like their scoring distribution was obviously led, by DeMar has 40, but I mean, and Vucevic has 25, and then Kobe White has 24. Other than those three, though, like they're not, they're searching for points at that point. You know what I mean? And whereas a game on our side of the ball, it was distributed really well. 13 for KJ, 19 for Doug, 13 for Yak, 19 for DJ, 21 for Lonnie, right? So almost double digits for KDB and Zach. So like, I think we had said this a little bit before we actually started recording today. It's like we didn't need him to be we didn't need him to do everything, but we did need a little something, right? Whether that means give a little bit more production on the offensive end, or try or see if we can slow down. Even if it's a slow down a Kobe White in a few instances, maybe DeMar gets his 40 regardless because he's DeMar DeRozan. You know what I mean? But again, like you're saying, the shift has to, or the focus has to shift to what is Devin doing in these moments now. You know what I mean? Like that's just where we're at.
Yeah, and I think Juan's biggest point is the inconsistency, and for me that's like I think we talk about it with Lonnie a lot, maybe a little too much, but it's definitely something that has to be said for our other guys too. Because Devin has instead of being like a game to game inconsistency, kind of like how Lonnie can be. Devin has stretches where he'll have a stretch of good games followed by a stretch of bad games, and it's definitely something that like we just had to. I definitely would love to have seen more consistency from him. because it's like a thing where to me it's like, oh, when I look at least like the 4 games that we've played against or played without Derek White, it's that like the games that Devin was hitting it, the games that he was being productive and putting it out there on the floor, we won them, and we won them in good fashion. And the games that, or in the game that he didn't score, was the game that we lost. And so it's just like a thing to me where it's like, all right, well now it just becomes even more evident, even more clear that without Derek White, you need those type of guys to stop, or to stop being so inconsistent if we're making a playoff push.
Yeah,
So.
and maybe we're, speaking of Lonnie, maybe we're feeling a little bit more of that because you get a game out of Lonnie where he gives you 21 points. So it's like, all right, we don't want to waste those opportunities. You know what I mean? We want those to come in wins. So
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
and that's a fair point you said, Jake. Like, I know I said like Devin can't have games like that, but if you look at the other 3 games surrounding that one dud in Chicago, they're all pretty good games, and he's doing like everything he can, space the floor, making driving to the basket. Like, yeah, he's great, and I love Devin. We just, yeah, you're gonna step into that starting role. I know it's like a little bit like I'm still hurt about trading Derek, so I kind of feel like I'm taking it out on Devin.
well, it's what you got to do. It's one of those things where it's like you can't, like, at some point you can't baby them as much as you do. You have to start to put the expectations that they're going to do more than what they have been doing. And we're already half a season or we're already halfway through this year, so we do need to see more improvement from Devin, especially with the absence of Derek White. It's now more apparent that we need to get more from him if we want to make this playoff push, and that's definitely something that I think it has to be said for all of us, that I think all 3 of us are in the mindset still that we're pushing for playoffs. Our players are talking in interviews, talking about how they're ready to get out there to show the world that they are that good, and that's like a thing where it's just like, yeah, all right, well, let's show them how good we are. We need more consistency from Devin. It's definitely just those things where it's like now, at the beginning of the year, you definitely could have been like, it's all right to see some inconsistencies, but now you're like, all right, we've seen it. You should have improved. Let's keep going with it. It's the thing that I'm glad I've been able to see from everybody, for the most part, on our team, because the other person that comes to my mind is like KJ, and just seeing how he was like such a terrible shooter at the start of the season and has just improved, just took it and started to catch his groove, and is now become one of the best 3-point shooters, so.
yeah, and that's the best teams is just because they can get all their guys to play the right way at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So we're on our path.
Exactly. Do y'all have anything to add from like the OKC game? Is there really much that...
I will just say that it was good that we were able to start to see a little bit of our new guys, right? Josh Richardson got in a little bit, and I think that was his hometown, right? Or that like where he grew up, in Oklahoma. Is that was that what I remember?
I couldn't tell you that answer.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure the Spurs did like this whole little like he like a little feature on him. He was saying like he grew up watching the Spurs a lot because Oklahoma didn't have a basketball team. So he was kind of saying like while he was in college was during that 2014 era or whatever. So he had a lot of good things to say about the Spurs organization. I'm glad that we were able to find him some time to play a little bit on while he was at home. So I mean go ahead.
I will say he does show like already like a little bit more of like a defensive, like he was trying to stop people, trying to get them from getting to their spots or be comfortable. I noticed that it was only 1 game, and like a guy was just trying to get to a spot, and he was kind of like being physical, like keeping them out on the perimeter, doing stuff like that. And it's like, I know a couple of our guys getting like little foul trouble with like hands, like handsy and stuff like that. But seeing him do that, he like blocked a shot, guy going to the rim, and he knocked down a 3. So yeah, if he brings that type of 3-and-D to it, it'd be awesome. I don't know if we've had a player quite like Danny Green since he's left, where it's just purely, go shoot a 3 and then the other end just get after somebody.
Yeah, and if we're gonna ask Lonnie to be a little bit more dynamic, on that second unit, then hopefully he fits into that role pretty well. So also just getting to see continued minutes from Zach Collins. He didn't have any points in that OKC game, 0 points in 16 minutes. But again, I don't know if we really needed it. I think we took care of business pretty early, and
Yeah.
it was just one of those games.
If there's one thing that I'll add just from looking at the stats right now, it's cool to see. Even though Zach Collins went scoreless with his 6 rebounds, a block and an assist, he was able to have like a plus minus of 9, positive 9, which is just like a thing that like it just adds to what Chris is saying. Like you don't need everybody to be scoring like that. They don't need to be putting up the big numbers, but they're just putting their part in their role and adding to it. And to add to that, Josh Richardson finished the game 1 for 4, but had in 14 minutes a positive plus 14 on the plus minus. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to. I like to look at that, like the plus minus, to like see some of that kind of stuff. It helps you understand a little bit more of like he wasn't scoring, but he was still being a benefactor on the court, If there's one thing for me, it was like there'll be times where I look at like Bryn Forbes putting up like 6 threes in a game, but still having a plus minus of like 2. And it's because even though he was adding his threes, there was still just like the negatives of his defense, that I'm sure that was probably getting taken advantage of at that point, or maybe it was the team or whatever, right? And that's just like you can't rely too much on those advanced stats, but it's always fun to like be able to see that kind of stuff and see that and be like, all right, well, we can take that with Josh Richardson and kind of understand a little bit more of what he brings to the table.
Yeah, I usually try to do the plus minus. I don't like to look at plus minus for players that I don't watch because I don't get the context of it. But I do like to look at it and just kind of see, like, in my head, did he feel like an overall negative throughout the game? And that's kind of like that. That's as far as I take some of those stats. I will say real quick, shout outs to Jakob against OKC. I mean, it was literally they were pretty beaten up, and they didn't really have the size to handle him. But I mean, that guy just had his foot on their throat like all night. You know what I mean? So 20 points, 17 rebounds. It was pretty apparent like throughout the game that he was the biggest guy on the floor, and he played like it, which is what we need from him.
Yeah. Juan, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, Sean Elliott always talks about how ridiculous the plus minus stat is, because like you'll see like a starter who had like a great game, contributed everywhere he could, and then he has a minus of 5, you know what I mean? And he's like, so there are things. It's just another avenue to look at analytically, statistically, just to evaluate the game. It's not a tell-all be-all, but it is good to see, like, when a bench unit, like, you could just look at the bench unit across the board, all 5 players, and there are plus. And it's like they came in, and in the minutes they all played, I know it's not all 1 for 1, but they had an impact and they changed the game favorably. So that's always good when you look at the bench players like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. But that was the games that we played. Obviously, we only had our 2 games, and it was nice to see how the new additions were. But there's one person that we haven't talked about at all, and we definitely got to bring him up, and that is our star, Dejounte Murray. He came up this last weekend, and was in Cleveland for that All-Star game. So. Yeah, exactly. That's Juan's guy. So Juan, I'll let you take the floor here. How'd you feel about seeing Dejounte on the court?
It was awesome. Like he had kind of touched on it. If you're talking specifically about the game, he had touched upon it. He said, like, I'm from Seattle. He's like, we do this. We live for games like this. And I was kind of nervous. I was like, I don't want Dejounte to be like Tony or Timmy. And like they're just kind of there and they do a little layup or 2 and then they sit for 40 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was just awesome to see Dejounte be active in the game, kind of controlling moments of the game and not being afraid of the moment. And I'm gonna take it like in some people would say like, oh, it's just an all-star game, and like, but I've heard stories about like that is a time for some of those players to like show like, hey, I belong here, or I'm as good or better um, than than what people think. And
especially a first timer.
yeah, and so it's like I loved the effort Dejounte put, the plays he made. He had the sweet like between the legs dish to Rudy Gobert. He had the off the backboard oop. He caught the lob from Lamelo. Like all that type of stuff was just like, thank you. Like at least he's making highlight plays that if people are watching and they really have never seen him before, they go, oh man, I didn't realize he had it like this, or he was like a type of player like this. So I loved it. And then yeah, seeing him throughout the weekend, he was there with his daughter. There were some moments where like him and David Robinson were meeting up. That was pretty big. A lot of Spurs fans got to see that over the social media. Um, like seeing him courtside, sitting next to DeMar, even like during the other event, it's like yeah, he embraced the whole weekend. He was happy and proud to be there. And I believe first of many. I think he can continue this.
Sitting next to DeMar and recruiting Zach LaVine. That is going to be he's going to be a San Antonio Spur next year, man.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Spur next year. So yeah, no, exactly. It's like, I mean, it was just very exciting to see Dejounte like out there doing his thing. I mean, for me, I have never been like like the Spurs 2014 was like when I started watching us. And so that means that I didn't really get to see a lot of San Antonio in the All-Star break. It was always just like if I'm watching this, I guess I get to see Marco Bellinelli in a 3-point contest. I think I remember Matt Bonner 3-point contest, but it was never really watching the All-Star weekend to see San Antonio Spurs there, you know? And it was just something for like it was something surreal for me to like think about it and just be like, man, like that's my guy out there, that's one of my guys out there doing his thing with a bunch of the other players that I like to see on the court as well. And um it was something, it was definitely a sight to see, to just see DeJounte out there with everybody else and also having chemistry, not looking like he was just kind of doing his own thing with Zach LaVine, but like actually like out there like having chemistry with like LaMelo
I
and
was waiting for a Dejounte to Zach LaVine lob. I feel like they talked about it and they wanted to do it. I was waiting for like a break and Dejounte just does something and Zach LaVine flies to the air with a 360 windmill tomahawk.
yeah, exactly. But it was something for me where it was also just like good to see DeJounte have that chemistry with the other stars in the league, you know.
Yeah.
Chris, how did you feel about it?
I mean, just like you guys said, I mean, I tried my best to watch a lot more of the All-Star weekend. I'll be honest. We're gonna talk about like the slam dunk contest and some of the other events here in just a second. But like, because of the slam dunk contest, people were sharing pictures of last year's slam dunk contest, dunk contest, and it made me realize that I didn't even watch last year's slam dunk contest. And it's been like that for me personally for the last couple years. Like, like we haven't had representation. The fanfare of it all is fun and I like the brotherhood of it all, but I just haven't really tuned into the day, if I'll be honest, like to Sunday or Saturday, like the weekend. So I made it a point. I really would have loved it if we could have got to see like Devin in there, the first part of the weekend or whatever, or maybe KJ in the 3-point. Like there was avenues to get a little bit more of us, but I'm grateful for what we had. It was good to see Patty out there. I think it was Patty got knocked out, right? Like somebody got him in the last shot too. I think it was Trey.
Yeah, Trey Young.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. Overall I enjoyed the weekend. I loved to see the Kid Cudi love that he was getting with the All-Star break being in Cleveland. I loved the Man of the Moon Dejounte Murray crossover thing. That was awesome. As far as the game goes, I'm the same way. The only thing that I would have loved to see out there was because I am a little bit like you said, like how Tim Duncan would go out there, get a layup. He went out there and hit a couple layups too. Like I wasn't,
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. The one thing I would have loved to see, and he went for it once, was to get a good little steal on a pass.
Yeah.
That would have been like the cherry on top, because that's that's us knowing that that's his calling card and him getting a chance to kind of show that out too. So that's just me being a little selfish at that point. But nah, man, it was just it was just great to see like what you're saying too about seeing Tim there, seeing George, seeing all of the history. There was a little bit of like people like to say that we don't get our just due. But it's hard to deny when you're out there and you're talking about the 75th year of the league and you're talking about the greats. You can't deny us. We're all over that weekend. You know what I mean? So like from that point of view, we didn't have to campaign for our guy to be out there. They were just there because they're legends. You know what I mean? And we could have had two more with Tony and Manu if things went a different way. So overall, I can't be mad about the weekend. I really enjoyed it.
Tim doing the video instead of walking out there with everybody else was definitely something that I was just like, come on,
What are
come
you
on,
referring to?
Timmy.
That
During the halftime ceremony when they're like calling out everybody,
Yeah.
they call out George, they call out David, and you see them walk out there and they're like waving and all that kind of stuff. And they call Timmy. They just go to like a little clip at the
And I
on like
saw
the
I saw
jumbotron.
he wasn't in the picture, right? The big grand picture. But I just thought because he wasn't the only one that they cut to like that feed. So now it's probably just other people who weren't there. But I don't know
Yeah.
why. I just assumed I assume some people were getting introduced like through this avenue, and some people were like standing on this other thing. That I didn't catch that he just wasn't there.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that was the thing that I like noticed. I was like, "Come on, Timmy! Like you should have been there. You should
yeah.
have." That was NBA 75th stuff. You can't
I
not
wish
be part of history, man.
I wish he would have been there, but people like Larry Bird and a couple of others, like highly like notable names, weren't they
Yeah.
didn't show up. I don't know why. I wish Timmy would have showed up as well. Um, seeing George Gervin do like his little pose was
Oh
amazing.
yeah, his fun little
Uh,
Iceman thing.
yeah. And then of course, yeah, like David walking around. It just all that, like you said, Chris, the Spurs history, it is undeniable. And
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I don't know how if they're gonna even try to fit Manu and Tony into the next 25 because you know h- there's already players today that didn't make it that they're gonna try to squeeze into the top 20 or the top 100, but they're gonna add 25 players. Like I hope either one of those two can make it. They deserve to be recognized for their like accolades and
Man,
the
25 years from now, they're gonna be like in their 60s and they're close to 7, like Pop's age. Man, it's crazy.
I know, but the whole weekend as in total was cool just to like have representation as far
Yeah.
as like the Spurs. Obviously, Patty will always be a Spur, so seeing him in the 3-point contest, even though they love putting guys as soon as they leave the Spurs. Um, but yeah, but seeing Patty like shoot out there, rooting for him, that was awesome. Just seeing him out there and enjoy the weekend. That was his first All Star weekend.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what? I know you guys. You had said when we were talking on that day that you were watching the TNT feed. And I had been watching the TBS feed, right, with Shaq and them, and I actually switched back and forth, back and forth. So I was on the TNT feed when I heard like Reggie and Dwayne Wade and them kind of talk about Dejounte, but apparently Shaq and Chuck and them were talking pretty good about Dejounte as well. So I mean, I want to go back and listen to that, but just overall, like you're saying, like just another opportunity. It was like finally other people got to hear the same stuff that we've just been saying this whole time, So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a Spurs podcast, and I'm glad we got to talk about how much involvement our guys got. But I have to ask guys, like other than the DeJounte Murray highlights, other than DeJounte Murray himself, what were some of your favorite moments from this weekend? And Patty, I'm also gonna take Patty out of there as well, so you can't say Patty. What were some of your favorite All-Star moments? Maybe a All-Star player that you liked seeing out there. Just give me something.
As far as like a moment, I'll give you both. A moment was just seeing the Antetokounmpo brothers do the skills challenge as brothers. The other teams were like Cavs and rookies. So I'm not quite sure how the NBA decided to come up with like the teams, but seeing brothers play like the Antetokounmpo brothers, Giannis and his brothers, who it was Thanasis, right? Who was on the Bucks with him,
mm-hmm.
and then the younger one, he's in the G League. But even just seeing all three of them, that is just such a cool thing. And they were being competitive and they want to win and stuff. It was cool. But I guess I'm not gonna say favorite player, but like a player that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much, because I feel like he gets like overhyped in the media. But seeing his chemistry and basically them being the two guards off the bench was LaMelo. Seeing Dejounte and LaMelo just kind of come into the All-Star game and bring like a different energy. They were getting after people, and then they were passing to each other, throwing hoops, like finding each other for threes. It was a surprising like, oh, I was like, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, if you had LaMelo next to Dejounte, like
That'd be
that
crazy. That'd
that
be
would be,
crazy.
and we'd be rolling. But I think he's a fine player. I think he can make flashy plays. But putting him next to a guy that I know is the Rock, like Dejounte, would be perfect. So that was just something that I wasn't really expecting to be like as like impressed by was Melo's chemistry with Dejounte.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris, what do you got to add to that, man?
I feel like he cheated.
Oh man.
Because you said no Spurs. Anyways, I'll stay positive too. The thing, even though we just saw him not that long ago, and we've already seen him twice this year, was Darius Garland, man. Well, first of all, let me just say, like the All-Star weekend was in Cleveland, so they got their home team in the skills challenge, and they did well too. And seeing him, like, man, he just shoots lights out, man. Darius Garland, just crazy. And he took that right into the All-Star game too. So like that's been a player that I knew a little bit about him, and every time I see him, I like him more and more.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jared Allen was also
Yeah.
in the All-Star game, right?
Yeah.
As well as like Evan Mobley in the Rising Stars.
Yeah, so I was pretty happy with like how Cleveland represented itself, the team, but also the city and just everything like that. Like, I like the idea of like, I like the idea of it of using the different events or let me just say it. Let me see if I can say this a better way. I like the idea of in the events there being a little bit of like a home team advantage of like, hey, this is the home squad this year, and not. I don't think every year it would be in a place that has an NBA team, or there could be a place where there is no NBA team. But if they did that every single year, that would be awesome. Like, can you imagine, like, if it was in LA, how many people would want to beat the Lakers? You know what I mean? Like in their skills challenge, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy like the potential of like that kind of stuff. So I just shout outs to Cleveland, I guess, because it was just overall it was just a great weekend. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I'll go a little negative. I loved the draft shade thrown at James Harden.
Oh man, I
That's a
loved
little
it.
bit prior. That's a couple days prior to the weekend or whatever, but still, like that was gold. That was good.
Uh-huh. So good, so good. I will never ever dismiss any James Harden hate. So that was definitely something that was just like, yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
and speaking of James Harden, whatever, that one video that came out this couple days ago that kind of recaps the moment between Ginobili and Harden in the playoffs. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah,
see it.
secret. So the channel Secret Base, they do a rewind every now and then, or they do a video where it's like a rewind and it's like over like a significant moment in history of any sport, right? And this last week it was a video of Manu Ginobili and James Harden going against each other in the 2017 playoffs and the block, right? But the video goes in depth over like the history of the players and like how they're connected. Like how they just have connections and how it leads to points. And one of the biggest things was like talking about how like James Harden and Manu, very similar players at James Harden's start of his career. And then even how James Harden was a 6-man, but then he declines the 6-man role, declines the smaller pay and goes to get paid his max money, become the number one guy and, carry his team. Whereas Manu was the guy who decided to stick with San Antonio, take the pay cuts, and stay as the 6-man, and fight to win championships. So
it was very well done. And obviously, like when you know what's coming, we're just waiting. I'm watching and I'm waiting. So, and I think also just kind of tying it back into All-Star Weekend, like, thinking about the bigger scope of the game was kind of like where my head's been at the past couple of weeks. We haven't had any games. It's been a very reflective couple of weeks for the 75th anniversary. You know what I mean? Like that kind of got lumped in with me. Like that video just kind of kept me going a couple days after the All-Star break even ended.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, to give my little moments, my favorite player of the thing that wasn't Dejounte, obviously, it has to go to Steph. I can't not say that Steph wasn't that
Oh,
guy out there.
the reason I
His
didn't say Steph was because he basically robbed Dejounte of MVP. Dejounte was gonna drop 25, like he was gonna drop a triple double in the All Star game, and then Steph started going off. But
cooking.
go ahead,
And
Jake.
well, yeah, like I mean, it's just those moments where Steph is shooting 3-pointers from the logo and turning around. Like you don't like you got some pretty big confidence to do that kind of stuff, man. To just immediately just turn around after you shot that three, and it's just like that's kind of the stuff for me where I was like, bro, I don't understand how people could hate Steph. I really don't. He's that guy. He's that guy. So it was entertaining to see him go out there and just shoot the peel off the ball. And yeah, he's like I have to mention how crazy Steph is.
Yeah, and it's definitely something like a different way to enjoy it because I'm not just watching Golden State games just to watch him. So if I ever see him going off, it's against the Spurs. So it's not enjoyable in the moment, but yeah, like watching it. Even though I'm rooting for Dejounte's team, it's just like it's just a fun game, and it's like this guy is insane. Like the shots he was taking, the pull ups. He literally had like a little like one legged three from like the top of the key. And I remember like it like was a flashback all the way back to 2013 when we played against them in the playoffs, and he hit like a similar three just like that. Um, and it was just like, yeah, this is crazy. Like we saw Steph from like a very baby age, and the type of explosion that could happen from
Yeah.
his ability.
I,
It's awesome.
I think a lot of San Antonio has good respect for Golden State specifically because of that 2013 series. Like we got the upper hand on them in that moment, but we also could tell very clearly that those boys were coming pretty soon.
Yeah, no, exactly. But that was there was a lot of stuff that came up in that All-Star break, and I'm glad we were able to kind of talk a good bit about just like how the Spurs were involved in it in general, and then how entertaining it was to just be an NBA fan watching the All-Star weekend. But we can go ahead and tie it right back into what's going to happen within these next couple days, because we'll be finishing off or not off. We'll be doing the third week of the Rodeo Road Trip here soon, and we'll be playing against the Washington Wizards on Friday, at 6 o'clock, and then that'll be a back to back because we'll be going against the Miami Heat the next day later, at 7 o'clock. So to just bring it to rope ourselves back into San Antonio ball, guys. How do y'all feel about these two teams? We know Washington doesn't have Bradley Beal. Chris, I believe you said that they don't have Chris Stops off camera, and then you said that that Thomas Bryant is also questionable, right? So
Yeah, Bryant was listed as day to day, and was questionable for tomorrow. Porzingis has a knee issue still, out for ruled out already, and then Beal's been out for a while.
yeah,
Well,
so
season
so
ending. So yeah.
yeah, so I mean, Washington to me feels like it's not going to be that big of a deal, but we got Miami to worry about within that Saturday of a back to back. So, Juan, how do you feel about this week?
Well, usually I guess I'm like spoiled in the fact of the big three, Timmy and all them. You come into the all, you just pick basketball right up. You know what I mean? You're right back into the flow of things. But it's a younger team. Dejounte, I was gonna say earlier, like as far as like the All Star stuff is like you can tell he's kind of different. He was a part of the old like the end of all that run, right? He got to play a couple of years with those guys. Um, you can tell he's got a little bit different to him. He's get a little bit more mature. His mindset, the way he respects the game. Um, Everybody else kind of scares me as far as like consistency, right? Like coming right off of the All Star break. Um, the Washington game does feel like a trap game where it's like, all right, we're coming right off of and like a trap game in the sense of like you don't really take it as serious as you probably should. You're coming right off the All Star break. They're missing key guys. You still got to go and show up. You got to go handle them the same way you handled OKC. These other like lesser teams. And then yeah, like if you handle business, you can go into Miami. So I'm kind of scared. I'm fearful of an 0-2 week just to come right off of this because I feel like Miami is a good team. They have all those veterans. They know it's right back to business. Business. I think Jimmy Butler was the only All Star, so everybody else was
Yeah, and
relaxing.
he was pretty quiet too during the weekend. He wasn't too extravagant or anything like that. So like
Yeah,
maybe he's locked in.
He didn't play much. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come out firing. Like I think Miami's ready. The culture, it's the same thing. They have culture over there. So I'm a little fearful of the week. Just not in the sense of like how well everybody's playing, but just like are we gonna be able to come back and like actually get right back into the flow of things? Especially we have 20 something games. We're right there in the playing spots, like to really catch up to those teams.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's definitely something that we'll definitely be getting into more discussions over the season as a whole and how we're going to be making this playoff push coming into this next episode following this small episode that we got going on right now. But it's definitely something to be said that we have to like we still have to make sure that we know that every game counts. We know that we can't slip up a game against Washington and then like we do need to come out fighting against Miami. We can't let these two games just like fly by us and then just think that all right, well now we have next week to go to. Like we need to be prepared for both of these games. So I 100% get that. Chris, what do you have to add to that?
I'm kind of thinking about it like almost like the Chicago OKC. You know what I mean? One team is obviously a playoff team. The other team is not, right? It's just kind of in reverse. We get to see the other team first, right? So we were talking about it off camera about like I was pretty confident in saying the 2-0 during that week. You know, I was feeling good coming off of the 2 wins. I'm feeling good now. I'm in good spirits off of the All-Star break, and it's like, all right, am I gonna go 2-0 again, or like, am I pulling back to that 1-1 kind of thing? You know what I mean? But I mean, I echo all the same things that you guys are saying. I am a little bit worried about the break slowing our momentum, but also maybe, you know, we just had a lot of turnover, or not a lot, but you know, new guys in. Maybe the break is a good time for them to just kind of sit with the plays a little bit and kind of, you know, just kind of get a little bit more accustomed to being around here. You know what I mean? So I think we should be okay. Luckily for us, as much as we don't want to overlook it, luckily for us, the Washington game is a little bit of a rev up to a game like Miami. You know what I mean? So it makes me feel a little bit better. As much as I agree that it could be like a trap game if we don't have the right mindset, like I choose to think of it as like, well, it should be enough we should still have enough, even if maybe we don't come out as sharp as we need to. Maybe it takes us 2 quarters to kind of get things moving. We still have enough talent to beat a team like that. You know what I mean? So best case scenario is that we come with the right mindset enough to give our guys rest, you know what I mean, in preparation for Miami. But, you know, I could easily see it going a way of like, all right, we didn't play as good as we needed to. Therefore, the game comes down to the wire. And now we got another one in Miami the next night. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I will say I'm still just in high spirits coming off of the break. So like, I'm just ready to see our guys compete again. It's just been a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And I am pretty much exactly the same way that you are, Chris. Just like thinking of it in the mindset of like we need this game to be able to rev up to the next game. We need to be like in my opinion, like for the most part, almost every single game in the season so far has been games where it's like, we know that our talent is lower than their talent overall. So if they have a bad game, we have to have a good game for us to be able to win those type of things. But if we both have a bad game, it's still going to go out to them. And this is a case for me where it kind of comes into that too. I feel like both teams coming off the All-Star break, both teams, or at least Washington's still trying to figure out their identity. And like, there's just there's a good chance that they could also come out into this after All-Star break, like sluggish, not prepared, not ready to play basketball, you know?
Yeah, and I know Washington's kind of melded in. They got Kristaps in that trade, but they traded Montrez. They Bradley Beal is out. I'm pretty sure for the rest of the season, right? And so, who knows? I know not every team is like San Antonio where they just fight and fight and fight. Some teams do just mail it in and tank it. So we'll see if they kind of like show us that tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously their future at this point, it's like, well, we know that our future happens when Kristaps is here and we can start building and all that, or I guess Kristaps and build together. I will
Yeah.
say in terms of that Miami, just something to kind of keep your eye on. They are doing a back to back. Also, they're playing at New York for against the Knicks, and then they play San Antonio. And then it did say on their IR, other than Morris still being out with that neck injury, Victor Oladipo, it said, is traveling to New York with the team. So not to say that he will play, but just something to monitor. If they're bringing him along, whereas previously he wasn't even traveling, maybe that just means that he's one step closer to getting on the court. Which we talked about the focus and the culture and the mindset of Miami, and their sights are set on the playoffs, right? And so like. I don't think that they would rush him back. I think he's way they would much rather see him healthy in March and April and May. So I don't know if I doubt we'll see him, but just
something to
keep your
look
eye
out
on.
for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's always interesting to hear because Victor Oladipo is like in a weird spot where like I feel like people don't know how good he is anymore. Like he's had
He's just been off the court
multiple
so long.
injuries. Yeah, multiple injuries. So you definitely have to expect that he's not all-star Depot anymore, but he's like at least a contributing player. So um that's definitely something to be wary about, to be ready for, just in case he does come back against us after that back to back.
Yeah, but yeah, so like just to be a little bit more specific, like I do want to continue to see good things from Jakob Poeltl and Zach Collins down low. That's just kind of been where my attention's been most of this year. Just been like looking down low, and Jakob's done a great job. So just kind of seeing what can he continue to do against a guy like Bam. You know what I mean? Like I love when we play the good teams because it's just good tests.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Personally, just because you were talking about what you were looking out for me, I'm looking out to just see Devin come out here and be more consistent. We talked about it earlier at the beginning of the show. I'll bring it out again. That I would love to see Devin become a little bit more consistent, especially with this new starting job. Juan, what are you looking for within this week?
This week is kind of just the same as like the rest of the season. Just keep Dejounte's got to keep improving himself. I know it's kind of not fair to say, but it's like if we're gonna make a playoff push, if you're gonna be in the playoffs, if you want to compete, I mean somebody's got to be the guy. And I love Dejounte, but like as great as he's been, 29-9. I still feel like he could be better. His shot still could fall. You know what I mean? Like the 3-point shooting. I know he's great assist to turnover ratio, but it's kind of like taking the most out of what you can. I just want to see our best player continue to be great. And that's just what I'm looking for. Everybody else is younger, inconsistent. They're gonna. If I try to put my my expectations and my hopes on that, I'll probably get frustrated and.
So what you're saying is you need 20 and 10 from Lonnie for the next 3 games.
Yeah, right. But yeah, it's awesome to see Dejounte dig deeper when he started to get those 30-point triple doubles like the last couple of weeks before the All-Star break. It was like, yeah, like this is another level. He is getting to another point, and
Yeah.
that's why he was able to get his numbers up to 20, like 9-9 or 9-8, whatever it is. And it did look better like All-Star weekend when people were like bringing him up. It was like, oh yeah, this guy's averaging 29-9 instead of
Yeah.
17, 8, and 7, what he was averaging to start the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the fun thing is like, you had just said about like putting your expectations in those other guys, but if they just start to make a few more shots, he's in double digit assists easy. You know what I mean? And now it just starts to look even better.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it just that's what I look forward to each game. When like it is a struggling game or like a really hard fought game, and it kind of looks like, man, like we're just a player or two away, and then you look at the box score and you see DeJounte only has 5 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. And it's like, unfortunately, when he doesn't have those crazy halves where he's 15, 5, and 5 already, it's like, man, we're struggling.
Mhm.
But when he's able to look to pick us up from that, it's like that's a great player. That's a guy who has winning follows him because of
Yeah.
the impact he makes.
Yeah, and like I had mentioned it. I had tweeted about it. Like he was saying something. I can't remember what he was talking about. But it just reminded me so much of Tony Parker, the way he was talking. And he talks very much like that point guard who sees everything and speaks on everything. Like, yeah, he's not afraid to not afraid, but he just addresses things that are in his brain, and he's very insightful. When you hear him talk, you feel like you get to know him more by just the way he speaks, right? And Tony Parker was a lot like that to me. But a lot of the conversation a lot of this week was like, is Tony Parker, is Manu Ginobili like worthy of these like considerations, top 75 or whatever? And like people didn't really see the Tony Parker led era of the Spurs, and maybe you don't see it because we don't get to the finals every year and blah 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 or whatever. But like you said, winning follows him, or just the idea of over the course of the season, he carried us through the day in, day out. And like right now, we're in that era of Dejounte Murray. You know what I'm saying? So it just makes it easier. As rough and up and down as the season has been, at the end of the day, it's always so much easier to go and not suit up, but you know what I mean? Like go and root for the guys to watch, because you just know that they're being led. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we needed. We needed a leader, and we got him.
For sure. For sure. Well, with that, I think we can get into the weekly predictions. It's very easy to remember that we are playing against the Washington Wizards on Friday, with a back-to-back playing against the Miami Heat on Saturday. So very interesting week ahead of us. Juan, what are your predictions?
Well, you always go first. You always put me first, and I kind of wanted a little bit more time to think on it. Like I haven't had an all-star break of it, but I'm going to say 1-1. The Chicago loss a couple weeks ago kind of burned me. I was really on the high of it, and I always like I'm a fan. I love our team. I think we're gonna be amazing, and then sometimes we're a young team and we show it. And I'm kind of playing it safe, 1-1.
Okay, Chris, what are your predictions?
All right, I was gonna say the same, and for the same reasons, because of the week, right? Because of the week we had right before All-Star break, but also like we're turning the corner. We have hopes of a playoff push. Like our goals are set forward, right? And with that being said, when it comes to the game of like us predicting and our records and keeping score and all that kind of stuff, I think if one is gonna go 1-1, then I'm gonna have to go 2-0 to see if I can. For a few reasons. First, because I think that we have the right mindset. We got to look forward, and with that mindset needs wins, right? And also, if I can pick up a point on one this weekend, that'll be a bonus.
Yeah. No, both of y'all make some very good points on the predictions. I'm gonna have to pretty much side with Chris here and go 2-0 on the week as well. My biggest thing for me is that I want to see Devin Vassell come out and be better this week. Like, I don't know. I watched a couple Devin Vassell things, a couple videos, like literally earlier today, just over like his mindset and how he feels about things, and there's like a tiny little interview that he has from like just like a couple days ago when they're at a practice, and it's just seeing him kind of talk about being prepared, being ready for it, just lights the fire in me to say we're gonna win games because I want to see Devin Vassell play good these next two games. So with that, like 2-0, I'm also adding that it's like a 2-0 because of Devin Vassell. Like that's where I wanna lay my hopes in.
Well, put a number on it. That way, if Devin doesn't average the same amount of points that you're suggesting, then you lose a point for that as well.
I don't think I need to do that.
Since you're adding Devin to your point, then just say Devin averaged 20 points these next two games.
Well, all right. So to look at these numbers within these last 4 games, Devin put up 13 and a half on 12 shots a game. So I'll bump that up to like to a solid 17. He'll put up 17.
That's a lot.
So like 17 average. So whether that's like 40 points one night and like 5 points the next night, He's just going to put up 17 averaging in these next 2 games.
All right. Well, if he doesn't, which I'm rooting for it because the more the merrier. But if he doesn't,
More the merrier.
you lose that. You lose a point
so
for that.
I had a path to gain a point on Juan, and then Juan finessed you out of another point.
All right, but all right.
If he does it, you get a point.
Wait, so if he goes higher than 17, though, do I still lose a point?
No, you get that point.
I still get that point. Right?
What if we go 1-1, but he averages 17 a game?
I'll still lose the point. I'll still lose the point. But well, no. If we went 1-1, on the week, then I don't lose points.
But would you gain one for the 17?
No, I will say that I won't.
Okay.
I'll say that I won't.
What if we go 0-2 and he averages 4 points a game?
Oh man,
don't
do that to me.
Let's not speak that into existence.
But yeah, so we have our predictions on the week. The scoreboard does not get updated at the moment because we all went 2-0 last week, and we went 1-1 on the week. Nobody gained any points. Nobody lost any points. But yeah, Chris talking about like these little point shaving and stuff like that. Like, Juan technically is gonna finesse me out of a point, which puts him closer to the thing. Especially if we go 1-1, then me and Juan will be tied if Devin doesn't get 17, and and then all that stuff. So, but we'll see. I'm hoping for big things for Devin. I'm hoping for big things from our team overall. But
me too.
Yeah, guys, do y'all have any lasting thoughts on the week before we wrap it up?
Nope. Well, we'll have more stuff to talk about Sunday, especially after these 2 games.
Yeah, and Chris.
Same. I will say this. Look, we had a lot of things going on right now overseas in Europe, and a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. If you live in Texas, like the 3 of us do, our governor is putting out stuff that has people raising their eyebrows, and whether you agree with it or you don't, go express your voice in the right way. So,
yes, 100%. With that, guys, to finish it up, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the podcast, but I will mention it now that we do this podcast every single week. We try to do it every Sunday. Obviously, with the All-Star break, we weren't able to do it this last Sunday, but we tried to make this podcast come out every Sunday at 10 a.m., where we will go live at Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And while you can catch us there live, if you cannot watch us at our 10 a.m. Slotted time, you'll be able to watch the VODs on all 4 platforms following the video finishing up. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk Spurs basketball on the near daily. And we love the interactions. We love talking to other people in the Spurs Twitterverse. So do not be afraid to come talk to us. We love the interactions. We love the conversations. But with that being said, guys, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I hope we get to see some good Spurs basketball. So that being said, guys, we are